Hey, Star Wars fans, it's Joe in the pilot seat. Welcome back to another episode of Rule the Galaxy. This is Rule the Galaxy, Chapter 102. We've got a big group of co-hosts here tonight. It's a star-studded field, and all the great ones that you like to listen to, they bring great banter to the conversation. And we have a special guest, Mr. Adam Bray, who we had some technical difficulties during our 100th episode. For those of you watching on YouTube, he just gave you a wave. And so let's jump right into it. As always, follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW. Email us rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. Rule the Galaxy Facebook and YouTube, which, by the way, our YouTube channel is starting to get lots more views. So thank you very much. Thank you, Dave, for making the thumbnails for those to make them look more appealing than they are. We'll go around here. Ryan, you've been out and under the weather, things like that. It's great to have you back. Mass, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing pretty good, Joe. Thanks for letting me come back on the show. I missed you guys. But yeah, it's good to be back.
It's always good to have you back. D-Doc from the Philly area. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Enjoyed the Lego Star Wars special. I actually just watched it before I came on here tonight, so it's definitely better than my Eagles. So we'll keep it at that.
There's a lot of bad football out there right now, Dave. I'm just gonna say between my Steelers, the Colts, and your Eagles, a lot of losing going on right now. So it's bad. We'll go across to Mr. Nick Shesky, who actually probably is getting more wins with his junior high football team. Nick, how are you?
Man, I'm good. But wait, while we're talking football real quick, Dave, you got to feel my pain here. I was really hopeful about Carson Wentz. I know this isn't a football podcast, but golly, man, we're having a rough start. Like to barely squeak out a win against the Dolphins, not a great look for the Indianapolis faithful. I feel like we inherited some bad juju from you guys.
Look, I was the biggest Carson Wentz apologist, so trust me, I'm still hearing about everything he's not doing right with the Colts, even though he's not on my team anymore. I'm getting texts every Sunday. Don't worry.
I was really hopeful, and then he sprained both ankles in one play, and I went, oh, no. My worst fears have come to realization.
After having a broken foot in training camp. He's
But other than that, I'm doing great. So, Joe, glad to be on, man.
You got it. And as we were talking before the show, you and Sam are going to have a Clone Wars Chronicle coming up here in a few weeks. So we'll look forward to that. And always good to go back and listen to some Clone Wars in-depth conversation. So my good man, Alfie, how are you with the Baby Yoda Mando 20 shirt? I like that.
Thank you. I'm doing pretty good, man. You know, another hectic night getting here. I think 15 minutes before this started, I got home. So, but we made it.
Tell me that wasn't directly from work.
Then I usually pick up Inslee from dance. Okay. So,
hey, you know what? You just brought Inslee into the show, and we usually have Azalea. So
right,
all the daughters are getting mentioned now.
That's good. Yeah. She's the only one that she only likes cute Star Wars stuff. So a lot of Baby Yoda.
She's allowed to do that. I know when you've shown pictures of like how her bedroom is set up with all the different Baby Yoda, everybody loves those pictures. Yeah. Hey, we'll finish up with our special guest, the author, Adam Bray. Adam, how are you, sir? Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm doing good. Good to see all you guys.
It's always good to have you. And when you told me you had some pets sick recently, I know you're way up there in the hills and hollers and woods of Michigan. I was hoping you were going to say like a moose or a baboon, but I'm guessing it's not that. Probably a cat or a dog.
just kitty cats. So I'm kind of on a farmy sort of environment off in the woods and around a lake, and there are a lot of summer people, and I guess they must bring like cats with them, kittens and stuff, and they'll run away, and then the people will leave and we'll get stuck with all these stray cats. They just gravitate because there are other cats around. We used to have donkeys and other stuff, so there's always, lots of food and activity and shelters and stuff. So we get a lot of strays. As soon as one dies, there's two more to replace it that show up. But growing up, I've had some weird animals. Just before I went off to college, my parents got ostriches. We had like 30 peacocks that just ran wild. We used to, in Florida, we had wild boars. The local humane society would end up with these feral pigs that people would keep as pets, then give to the humane society. And my dad had worked for them, and they gave us all the pigs. And so we had a whole herd of wild boars out back, and just lots of crazy stuff.
Adam, before we met, before we became Star Wars friends, I would listen to you with Rebel Force Radio, or with Scott Rifen, or with Steve Glosson, and they would always talk about how unique you were. And I tell you what, man, but between where you've lived, the things you've seen, and the animals you've been around, I would agree with him 100% that you are one unique individual. So, but that's good. You
Well,
bring
thank
something
you.
special and different to the show. So we appreciate that. We had tons of interaction. There are some news items, things like that. We've all got busy lives. So I want to zoom right into them, because in the last few weeks, we haven't gotten a chance to hit on some of them, with it being the 100th episode, and then really concentrating on Visions last week. The first one comes from, and this is for everybody. We'll just start, and I'll just hit the room here. This comes from the Dave M. Jones on Twitter. Dave Jones, who's a very, very great follower and listener of ours. And I'm sorry, a gnat keeps flying around my face. For those of you on YouTube seeing me swat things, it's driving me crazy. He wanted to know from the group, and we were supposed to answer this on episode 100, but it was such a mess. What aspect of the Force would you like to see explained more with future Star Wars films or TV series? If anybody wants to start, raise your hand. I will go right to you. If not, I'm just going to call out names like in class and hit people. But what aspect of the Force would you like to see explained more with future films or TV series? Adam, hit us.
I want the whole Force Ghost thing, the blue glowy thing, explained a little bit more. There's well, I guess George Lucas had indicated that it's only open to Jedi, not open to Sith. But yet they've kind of been eating away at the edges more and more with that. We've seen things like the Night Sisters. We saw Mother Talzin. Her end is kind of confusing, because you have to read the comics to know about her, and you've got to, those lost missions on the Clone Wars, and then you got to.
Season 6,
it's more than just watching, the Clone Wars proper. But we get to see her ending, and Rebels, where they have the ghosts of the Night Sisters, but they're tied to they can only go and move in a very small area. So and we've seen when Yoda goes to Moraband, I think it is, and encounters kind of their like echoes, of the Force, the dark siders, and but now we've got with the Rise of Skywalker, we've got Palpatine, who to some extent was able to survive, separate from his body, to move to other clones, and apparently the one we see wasn't necessarily the first clone body he'd been in. They seem to suggest that he'd been in several, kept burning them out. So I'd like to know what those rules are. But I'm also torn, because it's like, I want to know what George Lucas's rules are. But at this point, we're only, if we get further comment on that, we're going to get Disney's rules. So there's some tension there.
Unless Filoni's the one who brings it to the table.
Right.
And
Yeah. I think to go on that, I would like to hear Filoni's summary of it at this point, because we've got some muddy water now.
Yeah, and before everybody else hops in, you sparked some things. Didn't we see Mother Talzin bring a bunch of dead Night Sisters back to help fight?
Right.
Dooku? And
Right.
then we see the shadow kind of ghost of Darth Bane versus
Right.
Yoda in that season 6. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of things that are out there that are wishy-washy. And I think, at least for me, one of the things I'm hoping for in Obi-Wan is maybe a Force ghost of Qui-Gon
Right. Yeah.
discussing things with Obi-Wan in that series. So that's just my 2
Well,
cents worth. So
yeah, in the comics too, which I don't think I've even read the issues. On the one of the Darth Vader ones, they've got the ancient guy at the castle.
Yep.
Apparently,
Mhm.
he's attached himself to a mask.
Yep.
They've even got that mask in the Disney parks. So, even the publishing is kind of going off down these rabbit hole trails. So
okay.
we're getting muddy waters here. They need to kind of bring it back in and explain what it is.
I agree. Nick, did you have something? Did you want to go?
I did. It's a tangent off of what Adam said, but again, this podcast is not what pisses us off about Disney Star Wars. But I do want to know, Adam mentioned Moraband.
Mm-hmm.
Who and what got so pissed that we said, you know what, we're going to switch it from Korriban to Moraband. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where, again, not spending a ton of time on. I think it's cooler that it's Korriban. But when I went through season 6 not too long ago and we rewatched it, and you're like, wait a minute, hang on a second. Of all the things that we could go back and we could change and we could retcon, we're going to do that. I'll stop. But put it on my list of stuff that I'm upset about.
Okay. Any before I go to anybody else, any thoughts on a Force thing you want to see different? I got Dave and Alfie, so if you didn't have some, I'll go to one of them.
No, go to the other guys. Yeah.
Dave, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Alfie.
My main question is how Rey gave Kylo Ren his lightsaber or her lightsaber through the Force. I mean, please explain that, how you can transfer. I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but has anybody ever transferred physical objects from here to over there through the Force in Star Wars? Maybe if they have, I don't know, but
that's a great question.
That was just weird. That was just weird to me.
Do it 3 times in that movie.
Yeah.
Like very casually too.
The stuff where she's in one room, he's in the other, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it's like, damn, if you can do that, then like what limits are there to the Force? Like how much stuff can you do if you can, you're unbeatable if you can transfer physical objects and move stuff around like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
especially without any training.
You could, if anything,
Sorry.
I mean, you could take in worldly terms, you could have a nuclear bomb. One Jedi could see it, put his hands to it, and it could show up and drop in the headquarters of the, separatist camp or what have you. So, I mean, that's a very good thought, Dave. You know what? We need to send these off to Mr. Filoni and Mr. Favreau and ask them their thoughts on it. Good call. Alfie, what was yours?
Well, real quick, just to expand on Adam's about the Force ghosts. Luke grabbing the lightsaber in The Rise of Skywalker, actually grabbing a physical object. So if they can do that, why didn't they all just fight, and help everyone throughout the movies?
Which, Alfie, Obi-Wan actually says in Return of the Jedi, I can't intervene, which I would call bullcrap on, because apparently now we can snatch physical objects out of the air and we could do it. Why?
Right.
That's a great point. Why would you not jump in?
He even used the Force to lift the X-Wing out of the water.
He did.
Yeah.
So why don't the Force ghosts just show up on Exegol? But the one I'd like to see expanded on more was the father and son and daughter on Mortis. What they meant, and are they, do they still have any impact on the Force? Are they gone forever?
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to continue that storyline. I mean, they used it in Rebels. They had it in the background of Rebels, did they not?
Right. It seemed like it was really important to the foundation of the Force, and it was going to lead to something at some point in time.
Yeah, that's a good question. Mortis,
You know what?
yeah, Mortis line, yeah.
You know what, Joe? One of the ones, and maybe it kind of segues into Alfie's too, of like seeing more of the Force play out. We talked about it when we did our draft, but talking about that Force Unleashed video game and like the raw power of what the Force can actually do. Like I feel like we saw stuff in that game that you really haven't seen in any live action movie or anything like that. I would love to see more. Like there's a part in that game where you physically grab a Star Destroyer out of the sky and pull it to the ground. Like I would love to see more of that stuff of, okay, wait, where do we tap out and where could it go if it's truly like a force? I would love to see that.
Right. And like why, like say for instance, the Battle of Geonosis, when you have 200 Jedi, none of them used any of those powers.
None.
You never once got a force jump into the slam on the ground through 3, Jedi movies, but it's in every Star Wars video game.
Yep.
And it's in Clone Wars, the cartoon. It's in the Gendy Tartakovsky with Mace Windu.
Right.
When he jumps into the middle of all those and slam and creates like
but little robots on the outside of your Jedi starfighter problem.
I've never been able to watch that the same since you brought that up.
Oh gosh. Matt,
That's
how about
amazing.
you with the Force power or Force, something in the Force you want more explained?
Oh, I was going right where Dave went. That whole relationship and what it meant. I don't, how were they doing that and why? I'd like to have that explained. It's the, his gloves being wet when his hand comes back. It still bothers me. But
Hey, valid. You're right. It's a valid thing. Before we go too deep into that, I that was all good. So way to lead, and we all got some good points around there. I did want to give a shout out real quick. Again, we're going back to football. I apologize. I listened to a podcast called The Terrible Podcast. It's by far the best Steelers podcast out there. I've been listening to it for 10 years. They do a great job. There's a young lady on there named Melanie Friedlander. She lives in California, but she's a huge Steelers fan, and she is a doctor. She's a surgeon. So just let you know, she goes by @girlsurgeon on Twitter. So if anybody wants to follow her, she's a great follow. But the other day when she was on the podcast and they were talking about how terrible the Steelers are, which they are this year, she said, just like Jen Urso said, how a rebellion's built, but with hope, right? Well, she's talking about rebuilding the Steelers. And so I messaged her and said, are you a Star Wars fan as well? And she said, oh yeah. We started talking. Melanie, thank you she's now listening to the show. She subscribed. She is part of our little group here, and she sent out a tweet the other day about us. So just a quick shout out on that while we were changing subjects there. But I thought it was really cool. So @girlsurgeon, if anybody wants to follow her. If you're a Steelers fan, great. You'll get a lot of feedback on that. But she is a Star Wars fan, so feel free to reach out to her. So that we'll knock that out. That was a good question by Dave M. Jones, and way to go, everybody around there. The next one I've got here, Dave brought this up to me the other day, and I really liked it. Dave, why don't you lead the way on the R2D2 and staying with the ship and the Anakin and Luke difference?
Yeah, I saw a clip the other day, and it was saying that every time Luke tells R2 stay with the ship, R2 hops out and follows him. And the video brought back a clip, and it showed Anakin in Return of the Jedi saying R2 stay with the ship.
Revenge of the Sith.
Or Revenge of the Sith, sorry. In Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin says stay at the ship, R2 stays at the ship, and you know what happens from there. So I find it very interesting. They say that was the last time R2 ever stayed at the ship. So I thought it was good work for them to go to, maybe in the original trilogy that was a thing, but I think it was genius for them to put that in there. I've never noticed that before.
You sent that to me, and it changed. Like I started going, oh crap. Think about the emotional attachment that R2D2 has to this family, So guys, I thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant. Dave, thanks for pointing that out. Anybody have any thoughts on this topic right here? Because it hit home. Alfie, start us away.
The Revenge of the Sith novel actually has a conversation between R2D2 and C-3PO in Padme's quarters when he goes to right after the temple attack and he shows up, where they talk about the chaos that's going on. And R2, and again, it's Star Wars, so a robot can be a little emotional, says that Anakin never talks to me. I have no idea what's going on. And yeah, it just plays into that, him saying, stay with the ship. And isn't it kind of funny that, almost sad that R2 never gets to say goodbye to neither Anakin or Luke
Oh,
before they die?
Oh my gosh.
Alfie, way to bring us all down.
It is true though. Dave, I saw
Yeah.
that video, and man, when I saw that, that is sad, man. Like it's so true. Like you
Yeah.
don't think about it, but I don't know if they do you know if they did that on purpose? Like I saw the video and I immediately thought, man, that's like they're playing chess. If they went back and they played that, and they put that line in Revenge of the Sith just to kind of point that out. But I saw that, and I've always thought how sad it is. Somebody made a meme about it one time about how C-3PO got his memory wiped, but R2-D2 didn't because he could keep his mouth shut. And I think that's funny, but it's also so tragic to just think he's the only one that actually knows the full details of what's going on. You think they did that on purpose?
That's exactly what I thought when I watched the video. I'm just like, either this is just an awesome coincidence, or, they really cared about it and played it into it, because I don't know. With George Lucas, I feel like things happen for a reason sometimes.
Mirrors,
So
always mirrors.
yeah.
Adam or Mask, go ahead. What are your thoughts on that topic? Have you guys thought about that before? Seen that before?
No, I hadn't thought about it before. This is the first time.
It makes me like sad. And then Nick and Alfie bringing down the hammer, saying they didn't get to say goodbye to either one of them. Damn it, that is sad.
But even if you go back and watch A New Hope, when Obi-Wan and R2 are introduced, Obi-Wan gives them a weird look that just really seems out of place at the time until the whole story's told. But like you were just saying, did he have any idea of what R2 was going to be in the story, or what R2 knew? But it's just still a really weird look.
Yeah. Well, I never read a blog one time, like people give crap to A New Hope because they're like, when Obi-Wan just dismisses R2 and kind of like plays off like he doesn't know him. But his answer is actually like, I have no recollection of ever owning a droid, which is actually such a cooler and more baller response of like, no, I never owned this droid, but I know exactly who he is.
Right. Because I have
Very
no
cool.
attachments.
Yeah, right.
Man, that's crazy. That was good, Dave. Thank you for bringing that up. I like that. We might just title this episode "R2 Stay with the Ship," because that's hitting home with me right now. We might find another one, another banger title, but right now that's that. I like that one. I'm going to go real quick to the next question on Twitter. This is from another great listener and follower at Bombad Brad. Can we get your thoughts on the retconning of canon Star Wars literature that is currently happening more frequently in both live action and animated media? For example, the Ahsoka novel, Kanan Order 66, The Aftermath with Cobb Vanth, and so forth. Adam, I'm going to start with you, being the guy who's written about some of these things in the past. Are you thinking they're blurring the lines so they can get away with more storytelling, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, when they first jumped in with Disney publishing, I don't think they knew what they were doing. They were kind of making it up as they went. And they committed too quickly to details they should not have, consequential things that were tied to characters of interest like Ahsoka and Kanan, and a very, very important period like that Aftermath covers. And they very soon after that, they realized they were kind of making a mistake, and they pulled back a little bit. I know, like the first Rebels visual guide I did, they had me put a timeline in the front, and we wrote, specific dates. There you go. Specific dates that things happened. And we wrote specific ages of characters. And by the second visual guide, then they didn't want to commit to years anymore. They didn't want to commit to ages anymore because they wanted to have a little more flexibility with the storytelling, so that you couldn't commit to an exact timelines. So they pulled back, but they made some mistakes initially. And I think this is inevitable because the movies, the TV, the video games, it always makes a lot more money than the books. The books are just kind of piddly in comparison. So they're always going to get thrown under the bus if the people making the other stuff think they have a better idea. So I think this will happen more and more, and I think publishing will be relegated more to things that are not of consequence, which is why you have this whole series on the High Republic, because that's not something that anything else is touching right now. I would imagine that they hope they can build something with the High Republic publishing. And then when they've got something good, which may take some trial and error over time, that maybe then they can, build a movie off of that here and a game off of that here. But this for now, this is off to the side. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. So I think that's what it's all about.
I tried to really get in depth and read everything going along with the sequels to make sure there wasn't anything I was going to miss going into those movies.
Right.
But every novel I read around the sequels brought nothing. It was like, here's 300 pages to where we'll say, oh, well, they went off real quick and did this, and then they came right back.
Yeah.
And they did.
Sure.
There was no like, oh my gosh, this happened. That's why this makes sense in this movie, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that way at all. So doing that with High Republic, like you mentioned, I think makes a lot of sense. And I have a feeling they're going to keep blurring those lines of little things, like the end of Clone Wars was different from the Ahsoka book. The way Kanan ran away from the clones is different in Bad Batch than it was. And as always, Lucas used to make it this way. The film and the show make our precedent. That's where it goes, and the others are kind of blurred. So you need
that.
Go ahead.
That's why also with the Mandalorian, and this is just my speculation. I don't have any inside information on it, but that's why at the last minute I think they dropped all of the tie-in, the big important tie-in material, the DK visual guide, and the tie-in novel. 2 reasons really. One, I think because they probably had orders, they've got to cut all the Cara Dune stuff out, and it's hard to make a book that you've already written and then cut out something so integral and still have a publishable book. But also because this announcement, that came out at the same time that they want to make all these other series. I think for that reason, they don't want books that they're going to trip over. Right. And I suspect also part of the agreement was, well, if Cara Dune is exiting, then I want more control over the tie-in material as a consequence of that, because I've got to rearrange all my shows. So I don't want to trip over the books too. And for that reason also, I don't think we're going to see as many, maybe we won't see any more, visual guides for movies, because those visual guides all have backstories, small little backstories throughout that Pablo writes. But if the more you do that, the less freedom a movie director or a showrunner has. Yeah, it trips your feet. It ties your shoelaces together. So I think that era of publishing is probably over for now.
I tend to agree with you guys. We have some readers or audio book listeners and things like that. Do any of you guys kind of agree with that Adam saying there, or do you see it a different way? I mean, I feel like it's definitely going that route. Nick?
Adam, that makes a ton of sense. That sucks. And the only reason I say that sucks is I was a kid that grew up. My parents bought me the visual dictionaries from DK, and I still have them. They're on my shelf over here. But literally, the amount of hours I spent just pouring through those and learning little tidbits and facts and learning that, Panaka tipped off, Darth Sidious to the fact that Anakin and Padme had been married. And like, I never thought that before, like little throwaway stuff like that, which like, I don't even care if that's canon or not anymore, but I loved it as a kid being able to sit there and just like pour through that, to think that that's done because, well, we want to make sure that, in my mind, it makes me, and maybe this is naive because I've never written a show before, but it makes me just go like, figure it out, like figure out how to make those things all work together. And they're already doing it where like the Ahsoka novel differs from what we saw in live action in the Clone Wars. And, the Kanan Jarrus comic book differs from what we saw in Bad Batch. And I think both are beautiful. So like, why can't we have both? And I get it, the dollar is king, but I would also argue if you do both, people like me and people like us will buy all that crap anyway and want to read all of it. So I'm hoping that, while I understand it, I hope it's not true because I love those visual dictionaries.
I think originally too, when the story group was set up, its purpose was designed to coordinate this, to make it possible to do these books at the same time the movies, were being developed, and to tie all this together so it didn't trip over each other, which is one reason why Pablo was writing so much stuff, because that makes it even easier to have an employee at his level writing it, because then it's approved and you've got your story straight. But I think what's happened in the era of Disney Plus, and in an era where Disney, the Marvel MCU is Disney's most profitable, it's the model of everything to do right. And they want so badly to do that with Star Wars, to just explode it and have all these series going. But at this level, I don't think even a story group can keep it coordinated, because you have too many different showrunners, too many different directors doing too many different projects. And they don't want to answer to a committee like that that's trying to get their comic books and their novels and stuff straight.
Right.
It's just
made me think of Leia. I am not a committee. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. They don't want to be tied down to that. They want to think about their ideas, and they want to have their, okay, this is my plate. All of you, stay off my plate kind of a thing. So I don't think the story group can manage that at that level anymore. That's why they've got to have their High Republic over here, and okay, this is what we're working on over
and
here.
I think it's smart. I think they should stick with that right now and let the shows and the movies do their thing. So Dave, Mass, or Alfie, any thoughts real quick on the publishing, or are we good right there? Dave, you're clear. Alfie or Mass, any thoughts on it? We're good. Okay. So Nick brought this up, and I personally, so those of you who didn't watch the Halloween Lego special already, that's fine. We'll just take a few minutes to talk about it. Dave brought about it. Nick, you said you watched it the other day. I'll let you lead the way on this. I enjoyed it. What were your thoughts across the terrifying tales on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I think if you ask me, this is some of the most fun Star Wars that we've had in a long time. I love these Lego specials. Alfie talked about it on the last time we were together, where like they're just a fun, good watch. But what I appreciate more than anything is kind of the deep dive that they take into some of these different things. And it's not canon, but I like that they're willing to pull in different like deep dive resources. So like, they do a whole arc on, the Knights of Ren, and they bring them in. And if you've read the comic strip on, or read the comic of series, Kylo Ren becoming, Ben Solo becoming Kylo Ren, it's so fun to watch those little characters as Lego. And I also think that whoever's writing for them, I should look into it and figure out who it is. They have this like beautiful, sarcastic sense of writing that's very, like at one point, Poe Dameron says like, I've got a bad feeling, and BB-8 cuts him off. And he's like, well, it's still worth saying. So like, whatever, like it's like little stuff like that I think for me, I loved all 44 minutes or however long it was, because I kept waiting for little nuggets that they would drop in, where like, if you're a casual Star Wars fan, it's super fun. If you're someone that like eats every bit of content out there, it's even more fun because they're dropping little things in for everybody. I thought it was a blast.
it's made for kids, but they drop in things for adults to enjoy. So Alfie, follow up on that.
I loved modeling the first story after the Lost Boys movie.
Yes. They did one after that. They did one after I'm blanking on it. Red Rum. Didn't they do the one after Jack Nicholson, The Shining? Wasn't that the one? Did they do a part of that about The Shining?
Oh, right.
The Lost Boys. Yeah, I thought that was great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was. And then Disney did their own What If with Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
In a Lego holiday special. I mean, well, what if this happened? What if that happened? And I just thought that was so well done and just fun, entertaining stuff. So
that was the part. I will tell you this. I was working on a couple other things while I was watching it. And when they got to that little arc and they did because I've been staying up to date with all the what if stuff. Like, I just think it's so fun to, if you're engrossed in that, to continue to watch that. When they got to that Luke Skywalker one, it was like, wait, what? Oh, this is cool. Like, what, and I thought that was one of the coolest parts of that whole episode, specifically with him engaging with Darth Vader, his dad, and all the little tie-ins they did to the original trilogy. Just so fun. You can tell whoever wrote that, again, you would assume that they would be big Star Wars guys, but they were like I immediately think of that Fanboys movie. Like, it's those guys writing this stuff,
Alfie,
like when
go ahead,
Darth
Dave.
Maul and when Darth Maul and Grievous were fighting each other, I'm just like, whoever wrote this is a huge fan of Clone Wars, because it was hilarious when Darth Maul was coming in with the legs and Sidious was just kind of like, oh, like what's up with that? Like,
Dave, he calls him Darth Weez or General Weezus.
Yeah.
That stuff, like, I laughed out loud like an idiot. My wife's like, are you watching? What are you watching?
Yeah.
He cuts the legs off him. He's just like, not again.
Yes.
He's like, I just got these.
Didn't they try out a bunch of different legs and they weren't working? Like, they kept trying different things. Yeah, that was fun right there. So for Dave and for Alfie, before I get to Adam and Mass, you guys have kids. Have your kids watched that show yet? And what did they think?
We've watched it so many times.
Okay. And
yeah,
I'm guessing
we really like it.
And
go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, mine have too. And like, I've been slowly like introducing them to Star Wars. Like, I don't want them to be freaked out by it, like, so they're 4 and 3 years old. And I'm like, right when that came out, I was like, I usually pick them up from school. And that day I got home, I was just like, oh, something new came out. I threw it on and they like loved it. They thought it was awesome. So
Building a
good little introduction for kids.
Whole new group of Star Wars fans off something to do with Legos. Mass, have you watched the Lego holiday special, the Halloween?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
I think you'll enjoy it. And Adam, you have not watched it yet either.
Not yet, no.
I mean, let's face it, it's not canon. It's not must see, whatever. It's not going to change your views on Star Wars. But I will tell you, if you've got 45 minutes and you just want to kind of have a chuckle, I think we all agree it's a fun little watch. And they sprinkle in some fun things and lots of different characters. So I think they're doing it the right way with the Star Wars Legos thing. So Alfie, I put you on a task this week. And I'm hearing and seeing a lot of things on Book of Boba Fett. And I think we all are excited for that show. As far as, we know it's coming out in December, but what kind of other things can you tell us? You did some research as far as casting, as far as storylines, or, different things like that you saw in your research, because I know you're deep down into it. What can we all expect, and what are some things we should be talking about?
Man, I have looked really hard into this the past couple of days, and there is hardly any casting confirmed other than Tamura Morrison and
Ming-Na Wen.
Yeah, my mind just went blank. I apologize about that. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of news. There's some spoiler stuff, but this thing is being kept under wraps.
Really?
Pretty hard. Yeah.
And are we hearing in any of the spoilery type stuff, without giving anything away, are we hearing that it is right after Mandalorian season 2, leading into Mandalorian season 3, anything like that? It's in that time space
It's-
right there?
In that time space, but it looks from what I've, and again, you got to take it with a grain of salt, that we're going to go back to Empire and Jedi.
In this as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
There
My
was some reports. I mean, do you want me to tell you what I know?
I
Because it's just
mean,
spoilers.
I mean,
So,
if it's spoiler, but I mean,
nothing's confirmed.
the Disney, the November 12th show is going to be background and fill,
Yeah.
filler information. Is this not going back to that? This is something totally different now.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to see. Are we going to see a trailer? Are we going to see any information? But it looks like, one, we're going to go back and see the people that have wronged him throughout the Empire Strikes Back time, which to me, as a longtime Star Wars fan, makes me think of Shadows of the Empire.
Oh,
But, we also have this Book of Bounty Hunters or War of Bounty Hunters comic series that's going on, which is kind of along the same lines.
So,
And
okay.
will we
Interesting.
see what happens from the Sarlacc pit? How he got out?
Does anybody else think you're gonna see him climb out? I'm putting my hand up. Does anybody? Yes, we're gonna see him climb out of the Sarlacc pit. Okay, 5 out of 6. Mass, you're not thinking we're gonna see the climbing out of the Sarlacc pit after Jedi?
No.
They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing, folks.
No, I don't think of that. Why would they?
Okay, it's just
nobody
too
wants
easy,
to
right?
see that.
Too easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, I'll go around the room. Mass, I'm going to start with you. Book of Boba Fett. You said Mandalorian brought you back to Star Wars. It caught your attention, brought you that love again.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to see in Book of Boba Fett since it's closely related to that? Or is there anything? Are you just wide open? You'll take anything they throw your way?
I'm pretty wide open. I think, honestly, I think that you have to address that really about how he got out of there. What happened to his armor, how that happened. But other than that, I'm just looking forward to it. I'd like to see, her connection to why they teamed up. Ming-Na Wen. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to a good story, to be honest with you.
Well, and I think going back to the question that was for Adam earlier, we could see another blurred edge kind of storyline around Cobb Vanth because he's the one in the novel that got the Boba Fett gear. He's wearing it in Mandalorian, but I think they'll probably fudge around that a little bit. Go ahead, Mass, before I go back to Adam.
I would like to see that that whole Cad Bane showdown that they had. I'd like to see that. So I'd address that. Yeah.
I feel like Cad Bane's going to show up in this. Does anybody else feel like Cad Bane's going to show up in this?
Yeah.
I'm seeing some head nods here.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, before I'll go to Nick and Dave in a minute, but what do you think? Is there anything you want to see in the Book of Boba Fett, or any thoughts on it?
I want to see Daniel Logan, and I think we
Yes.
will. Whether we see his face or not, I think he will play a part. He could just be, the younger Boba acting out the scenes with Tim Morrison doing the voice, or we could get Daniel's voice too, with the helmet on. But I hope they'll take the helmet off. I hope we'll see young Boba. I think we could very well see Filoni's Cad Bane, arc in a much condensed form. Maybe just a series of flashbacks or a few scenes or something from that. But yeah, I was thinking the other day, it's called Book of Boba Fett because I think it's going to be the memoirs of Boba Fett is what this is going to be. It's not going to be, just what happens after Return of the Jedi. I think this is going to be Boba Fett's whole life. This is going to fill in all the gaps, maybe spend the last half, after Return of the Jedi in the Mandalorian area, but I think it's going to fill in the whole thing.
I love it. Nick, go ahead.
Adam, I'm with you. And I think especially this whole War of the Bounty Hunters comics that are coming out right now. Like there's the one where he, takes his armor and dyes it jet black, going into this like arena to go fight off gladiators, like, kind of like, again, I would love to see that kind of stuff in particular. See kind of like, I know people have speculated about like the Calrissian Chronicles, like it's like you're kind of going back and you're seeing all these things. I would love to see that. I think in some capacity you're going to see the crime syndicates all come back through, in particular Kira, who has been somebody who's come through the War of the Bounty Hunter series to a degree. Like I would love to see, is it Amelia Clark? Is that who it is?
Oh,
I would love to see her come back in some capacity and play a larger role. Because I thought she was a great character that didn't quite get flushed out enough in the Solo movie for me.
I saw an article the other day, before we get to Dave, I saw an article the other day that said, for all you people that want Mara Jade back, we might not get her. But in place of her, we might get a kick-ass take names Kira doing some similar things, cutting deals, because on one of the comic covers, it's her standing between Vader and the Emperor. Amelia Clark has said she wants to come back. And Alfie, you're telling us there's no, things out there about this really. Man, what a great surprise that would be to have Amelia Clark come in and play Kira back in those retro, back to Empire and Jedi days, playing her role with the crime syndicates and all that stuff going on. That would be awesome. I don't think it takes place of Mara Jade, but I do think it'd be a cool story.
She's a big part of this comic book series.
Yeah.
So if we're flashing back to, the Empire days, that I think it's a real opportunity to see some of the original trilogy characters, like I said, from the Shadows of the Empire, him trying to deliver Han Solo. So you got the classic bounty hunters. Now you have Kira involved in it. And Luke and Leia were trying to get Han Solo back at the same time too. So
give me some Prince Xijor. Give me some
Dash Rendar.
Let's go. Dave, how about you? Book of Boba Fett as we finish up this topic.
I'm looking forward to it. I think all you guys brought up a lot of interesting points that I really haven't thought of. But like as you were talking, I was just kind of thinking about like my vision of the show, and Mandalorian ended with Boba Fett sitting down at Jabba's palace and everything, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, maybe this Boba Fett show might wrap up with like I just had a vision of his last scene of him like watching Mando. Like maybe it will go back that far where it's not like, oh, we're going to see what happens after he sits on the throne. Like you guys are saying, it's going to be a story of him. And maybe Mandalorian season 3 will be after that point if Boba Fett's involved in that type of way, I think that storyline is going to, I think it's going to end with him seeing Mando. That's like a prediction there.
Okay. And Dave, I'll tell you, your sound is coming through clear, but your picture is on freeze frame just in case you were seeing anything different. Am I the only one seeing that, or is anybody else seeing that?
It's
Am I
blacked
moving?
out now.
Okay.
Oh no.
It's all right. I can hear you perfectly fine. So you know what, guys, I think we all have something to look forward to with Book of Boba Fett. A question that I wanted to ask everybody that has been on my mind: Mando season 3, can it work and be successful without Grogu in it?
Oh yeah.
And that
Yes.
I was going to lead with you, Mass, because I know that was your show. So you think this show works no matter which way it goes? Grogu does not have to be a part of this episode, this season.
There was so many good characters that they brought in, and there's just so many more that they could use to bring in. And I don't think Favreau at this point can make a bad episode. I mean, I enjoyed every one of them. I mean, I know you guys love the Clone Wars, but am I still on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you guys love the Clone Wars, but to me, the Clone Wars, the ones that I really enjoyed that, I would watch again, they probably made up like a season. You know what I mean? There's like, I don't know how many episodes are there, like 60 some episodes of
There's a
Clone
lot.
Wars. Yeah. I mean, if I'm watching the baseball game right now, I
So
mean,
am I.
if you were, if it was if the Clone Wars was a hitter, they'd be sent down to the minors because that average is not good. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
You get the Clone Wars
Oh.
Chronicle host over
Yeah.
here.
Take it easy. I think that from a certain point of view, that might be true.
This is true.
Yeah.
I know,
And that's
I know
why
you
we
guys
all, and that's why we all have our own perspective.
It's
That's
true.
right. That's
It's
right.
true, Mass. I appreciate you.
Adam, do you think you think we're in safe hands even with no Grogu in possibly season 3 of Mando?
Yeah, I think we're in safe hands, but I think Grogu will have to come back by the last or second to last episode of the season. So I think most of the season is fine without him, but I don't think the series would survive without him, long term. Though I don't, there's a lot of speculation whether is season 3 the last season, and it could be. It could just be a 3-season show. So that's remained to be seen.
Okay. Alfie, how about you? Grogu? Then we'll go to Nick.
Oh yeah, this season will be fine without Grogu. I mean, to me, this season is going to be like Captain America, the Winter Soldier. People, when you watch that movie and you say, okay, where's all the other Avengers at in this movie? Well, because if Thor shows up, then, Bucky and Captain America can't have their one-on-one the whole movie. This is the war for Mandalore season, and Grogu does not fit into all-out war. So Favreau and Filoni had to safely move him to a spot where he's safe, secure for a little bit. And when this is over, they can go back and get him.
I like it. Nick?
I was going to say, but you
I
better
do, if
believe. Oh, sorry, Adam, go for it.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add an addendum. I think as far as this series is concerned, this is probably the last we've seen of baby Grogu. I think they're going to do a Groot formula. We're going to see Grogu a little older next time, a little more developed. We might see this same baby Groot in one of the other series, like maybe in Ahsoka. Maybe Ahsoka will go visit Luke and baby Groot training. But I think in The Mandalorian, this is the last we'll see of baby Groot as we know him. I mean, baby
Grogu
as we know him.
Go ahead, Nick. I like that.
I will say though, sure, it'll last for a little while, but like I gave my kid a bath tonight, and the towel that I put on him was not a Mandalorian towel. It was a baby Yoda towel. So like the dollar rings in, right? So like, you could say, hey, does the show go without it? But like my wife, who's not even really a Star Wars person, will watch The Mandalorian with me because of baby Yoda. I think Grogu is the cash king. And so I think they could do probably half a season, reference him, but you better believe that he's showing up in season 3 in some capacity for just a sheer merchandising standpoint.
And what if he's at the end, and like Adam has said, he spent time with Luke. He's now honed some of these things, and he comes in, and just like he did in season 1, where he had to last minute save Mando, he has to pull something out of his hat to do the same thing at the end of season 3 with a little bit more power. I don't know, just throwing it out there. Dave?
I just had a vision of Mando being in trouble in like one of the most pivotal episodes, and he's like about to be killed, and next thing you know, someone gets force choked and thrown off of him, and there's teenager baby Yoda like walking in there. I'm like, oh my God.
To bring it full circle, all of a sudden from midair comes a lightsaber that has been dropped through the force. A master ability to drop things through the force. And it's all come full circle in this episode.
I got to admit, I think Joey might have brought it up on our 100th episode. If Grogu was going to speak the same way as Yoda, I found that very interesting. Like, I remember I'm like, that'll be interesting if he starts to talk, to see if he talks the same way as Yoda.
Can I jump in on that? I don't think he will.
Yeah, was it Joey or one of you guys?
Yeah, it was Joey.
I forget.
Joey brought it up. I'm listening to the Out of the Shadows High Republic book right now on like audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
And Yaddle is in that book, makes an appearance, does not talk like Yoda.
Interesting.
Talks in normal, coherent sentences. And it threw me when I first heard it because in my mind, I've read the old comics where Yaddle does talk like that, but that's Legends now. Yaddle does not talk like Yoda.
Interesting. Hey, real quick, Alfie, 1 second. Speaking of audiobooks, I am about 75% done with Heir to the Empire, the Mark Thompson audiobook of that. And obviously I've read it a number of times, but now it's the first time listening to it. And he's doing a fantastic job with it. But I completely forgot that what is it? Zygerian slavers that are in Clone Wars. They were mentioned twice in this book from 1991. So you talk about piecemealing things together into future shows. They took the Zygerian slavers, which we see in Clone Wars a number of times, and bumped them all the way out to Clone Wars after that. So I just thought it was really cool because I'm listening, I'm going, whoa. What year was this book? Holy crap, that's from 1991. So anyway, sorry to jump in there, but I think we've got some good stuff. Alfie, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah.
On that, go ahead.
In all this season 3 talk, I think season 3 ends with King Mandalore Din Djarin delivering the ball to Grogu. And that will be the bottom of his lightsaber.
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
I'm digging that, Alfie. Yeah.
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 Dude, that was some deep stuff right there. Deep.
Where is your head at, man?
I think about this stuff all the time.
This is what you do at work, isn't it? You don't.
Pretty much.
Hey.
Hey, you wear earplugs 12 hours a day to where you can't hear anybody else talk. Your mind just goes nonstop.
Hey, I'm going to hit us on a couple last topics because it's late and I know everybody kind of had to go, but I want to hear some different things. Does anyone, I've seen and heard other podcasts do this, talk about it. We stayed off of it, but is there anything to be said about Marcia Lucas and her comments that she brought up about, I mean, she did bring up things about the prequels years ago, but now the sequels that she's doing a book with somebody and talking about it. Anybody want to discuss that at all, or we want to go down the negative rabbit hole with this at all? Any takers on this, or can we just say Marcia Lucas spoke out against the sequels? Any
I thought it was great.
Shocking.
To go along with that, I've been trying to stay clear of negative things on Twitter, but I did see somebody post today a thing that says the Luke that we got and the Luke that we should have gotten, and it was a picture of old Luke drinking the green milk out of the boob or whatever, and then the Luke from Mandalorian with the green blade swiping through everything. And someone posted and said, I love that my favorite character grew and changed and realized all this stuff, and so many of his fans did not grow and change. And
Wow.
I just felt like that was just trash to say that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't remember who put it out there, and I'm not going to promote them at all, but name heroes fall. We get that, right?
Right.
But to say that your fans haven't grown or matured or whatever, I mean, everything's dark now. I mean, think about it. For all the people who grew up, Steve Glosson, for example, loves Superman. Superman is Steve Glosson. When he thinks about Superman, it's like, this is who I aspire to be. This is what people want to grow to be. But every writer wants to make him die or turn evil or why? He's Superman, right?
Or be broody.
Yes.
Broody.
Right.
I mean, I grew up with Adam West as Batman.
Mhm.
While I enjoyed the Christopher Nolan series quite a bit, every time I think of Batman, I think of Adam West in 1966, that series and that time.
Mhm.
So Luke, for me, is it wrong that the 6-year-old Joe Molinaro and the 50-year-old Joe Molinaro, I've grown, I've matured, I've changed. Ahsoka Tano is in one of my top 5 characters in Star Wars, right? Asajj Ventress and Hera Syndulla are in my top 10. I've changed. I've looked and said, look at these great new things that I accept and I bring in. Look at my damn shirt. I mean, to say that people don't change and their hero changed and left them behind, I just feel like that was a real smack right in the face. So anybody want to comment on either one of those things? I'll go Alfie first and Matt.
Okay. I have no problem with Old Man Luke. It was fine. It worked for the film. I get where people wanted, the heir to the Empire Luke, Legends Luke. We grew up wanting that. But damn it, I lost my train of thought. Completely lost it because I can't stop thinking about my
infuriated.
Superman.
Yeah.
So you know what? It's because you're old man.
Oh, I got it. But it's like, to me, they announced the sequels. Luke's coming back. Great. That's good. Awesome. We're going to see him after all this time. It's the same as the Marvel series to me. This is just personal. Advertising the Punisher in all the series. But hey, guess what? As writers, we say, you know what? Nobody really wants to see the Punisher. How about after he's the Punisher? That would be a really interesting story. Is it? Yeah, but the whole time you watch it, you're thinking, when is he going to be the Punisher?
Yeah.
And that's what you see in the sequel Luke is, when is he going to be Luke Skywalker? We waited so long and it just didn't ever really materialize for me.
Mass, did you want to go before we go to anybody else? You had your hand
Yeah,
up.
that's bullshit. I mean, the person that said that has to be a lot younger than we are, because when you wait around 35 years to see your favorite character again, and the first thing you do is a total disappointment when he tosses that lightsaber over his shoulder. I mean, you just, and it was never about him being an old guy and being broken. That is perfectly, acceptable. I mean, you almost expected it, but the way they went about showing him as that person was horrible. And it had nothing to do with us growing or developing or anything. I mean, we've all done that. I mean, what happened to him was fine. It was just it's like that old episode of the Cosby Show where they said, you were like you made a steak with all the dressings and everything, and it looks perfect, and you served it to me on a dirty ashtray. You know what I mean? I mean, you're not eating that steak, man. It's not good.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah, I think, Mass, I'm glad you brought up that point about it. Somebody who's younger. Here's the reality. Like, why do we watch Star Wars? We don't watch Star Wars to get a real life representation of what people are. If anything, I believe you watch Star Wars because it's almost it's like a compelling what could be. And so reality is like, I don't need to watch. Now, don't get me wrong. There's beauty in some of the sequel stuff, but at the same point, like, I'm not inspired by watching a 60-year-old Luke who's having a midlife crisis, who, just decides that I'm cutting myself off from the Force. I'm not doing it. I'm not saying that that's not realistic. Like, the problem is it's almost too realistic, right? Like, when you look at the world we're living in today, you see people that are caving on their beliefs. And why do we love Luke Skywalker? We love him because he's the hero that flies towards the Death Star that is way bigger than him and takes on this impossible task. And so to see this kind of beaten, battered old man, I get why people are angry. And so to say, well, it's not shifting, I would say that spits in the face of the whole genre, because you go, no, the whole genre is based around this idea of hope. It's the Jyn Erso, right? It's like rebellions are built on hope. It's like, it's hoping in something bigger than what we would normally see. It's an escape to something else. So I get it where people say, well, it's more realistic that way. Cool. That's awesome. That has its day. But at the same point, to just say that the whole fan base hasn't grown because they were disappointed that they didn't see this shining character that they wanted it to be, I get hung up on that.
Nope. I got it. Dave or Adam, any thoughts on this crap hole I've took us down on here?
Yeah, well, we should probably explain to people who are watching that the Marcia Lucas quotes that got us started. It's Marcia Lucas, the ex-wife of George Lucas, who was integral in the editing and some of the reworking of dialogue in A New Hope. the original Star Wars movie, and she was contributed to Jonathan Rinsler, my former editor, who just passed away from Lucasfilm. His book, it's a biography of Howard Kazanjian, who was involved in Star Wars and Indiana Jones and a lot of those old movies. And Marcia Lucas helped out on that. And she was asked her thoughts on the sequel movies. And so she basically said that it was clear that Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams didn't understand Star Wars, that they just didn't get it after she watched, I think it was The Force Awakens. Which I think was kind of Jonathan Rinsler's opinion as well. So yeah, a lot of people have gone off on that, but you can get the full quote in that book. And I haven't read the book, but I think she writes maybe a full chapter in there as well. I think there's a lengthy interview with her, which is quite interesting.
Well, yeah, and first of all, Jonathan Rinsler, we've had so many passings, I believe, recently that it's been tough to stay on top of it. But yes, just a guy who I've heard on so many podcasts, and he's done such great work in the books he's written. Wasn't it the making of and kind of the behind the scenes stuff of the original trilogy?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just everybody who talked about him just raved about how great of a person he was and how much he loved Star Wars. So yes, our thoughts and prayers with his family. And you're right, it is all wrapped into that Kazanjian book that they were involved with. So yes, great context right there. But going with her, she did, I know in the past, make some negative statements about the prequels, and obviously she wasn't involved with George making those. But then again, we have Mark Hamill saying the prequels, hey, I like it. They took a risk, they took a challenge, and they had to go really in depth into some things. So it is what it is. But everybody was talking about it, and I just thought, do we want to talk about it? But then, of course, I saw that Twitter, which made me very angry before the show. But go ahead, Dave, your thoughts on anything negative that I brought up tonight that I probably shouldn't have.
No, I mean, I don't think it totally has to be negative. I mean, I actually went down a pretty deep wormhole on her on YouTube right around when those comments came out. And I was seeing stuff about how, like, they said when they were filming the movies, if like the actors kind of wanted to, they're like, I'm not sure if I like this, I want to try this. Like, they would go to her and she would tell George, this is how we're doing it. Like, they said that she definitely had like a lot of, she had a lot of sway in what happened in the original trilogy. And I think she deserves to be able to have an opinion. I mean, I think she has the right to have an opinion. If that's her opinion, then so be it. I mean, I don't think she's totally wrong on what she said. I mean, I thought it was interesting how she brought up, like, come on, you killed Han Solo. Like, and it made me kind of look at it differently when she said that. I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe they did kind of kill Han Solo to give us that, like, holy shit moment. But at the same time, was it really worth it for what we got in the end? Han Solo's dead because, was Last Jedi and, Rise of Skywalker, were they worth it to kill Han Solo? I don't know. I'm so 50-50 when it comes to, like, here I am talking about this wearing a shirt of Luke from the sequels, because, like,
it was a gift.
Those movies were the first times, like, I saw a Star Wars movie walking out of theater where I'm like, I loved it, but I didn't. And I'm like, I remember just like sitting in the car on the way home, just like, I'm like, I don't know how I feel right now. Like, especially after Last Jedi, like, yeah, I don't know. So long run, I know it's a toxic subject, and Twitter, it's like crazy. I love reading threads that I never get involved in because it's just funny to read them. But, I think she deserved to have her opinion on it, is how I'll finish that. She's allowed to say what she wants to say.
Nope. I agree. Alfie's got to head out. We'll finish up here real quick. Actually, you know what, Alfie, before you go, give me a closing thought. Anything you want to hit before you leave, before you got to go? Anything you want to hit on before we shut down episode 102?
Real quick, the news today that broke, whether it's true or not, what do you think the possibility of Kenobi on May the 4th?
That would be wonderful. we do a viewing party. That's a great way to
Yes.
celebrate it.
I think if you really want to do this in your Disney, release the trailer May 3rd, one day, show series May 4th. Break the
Whoa.
internet.
It would do it too. You're right.
I love it. I love it. Disney and Star Wars break the internet. We're all here for it. So Alfie, thanks. I know you got to go, man. Thanks
All
so
right.
much. See you soon, buddy.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Nick, anything you want to hit on as we've been going for a little bit here? I don't want to keep you guys late tonight. I want to. We have other goofy, silly things we go over, but not anything that's mind shattering. So anything that's on your mind before we break on number 102 here?
Not a ton. Adam, always super fun being on with you. I will say this, Brent Dykman, if you're listening to it, been thinking about you guys a ton, praying for you guys. And I am itching for another Legions night. So we need to figure out a time where we can all get together and play it again. I was literally getting ready this morning and I was thinking, man, it is time to play Legions again. And I simultaneously loved it and was like, frick, I'm going to end up with this stuff in my basement. So Brent, we need to get another night planned and on the books once everything settles down.
Let's do this. Let's do it into the month or after Halloween or something like that. Let's do that. And speaking of Halloween, we all have to question whether or not we're still going to go out and buy those new, if we can find them, the cheap masks at Target or Walmart and do a show around Halloween with those on. So good call there, Nick. Good call. Dave, anything that we didn't hit on tonight that you want to cover before we break?
Yeah, like Nick said, Adam, it's cool to be on a show with you. I love following you on Twitter. I think you're awesome. I think you're one of the most interesting people in the world. So what I'm going to share is I'm currently working on a Lego portrait of Darth Maul. If you can see, they are all little single pegs, and I'm almost done.
That's amazing.
So you put them together in little sections, so it'll be 9 sections, but you can choose. All of the pieces that come with it are either you have a choice between Vader, Maul, or Kylo Ren. So I've just been sitting here with a little cupcake jar of little pegs, and you just sit there and go one by one and fill them all out. They're little 16 by 16 squares. So
that is awesome.
I'm enjoying the hell out of doing it. It's a little tedious, but I'm enjoying it.
For people listening to our podcast, we do thank you, and we want you to keep doing it. And especially if you're in your car or somewhere where you need to be listening, but you do need to check out the YouTube, because we bring up some, besides the stuff that Dave's bringing up there, the great books behind Adam right there. I mean, we've got some great, things built, and you can buy those books from Adam, I'm sure, right there. But we've got some great visual stuff here. And then we always like it because Mass only has his head in the frame whenever we do a show. So that's always wonderful as well. Mass, one, it's been great to have you back on the show. I hope you get feeling better. And I know we're going to be getting together here in like a week or so for some get-togethers for some people and friends' 50th birthday parties and so forth. Anything you want to hit on Star Wars wise or anything like that before we shut down this episode?
Yeah, about a week ago, for the first time, I saw Fanboys.
Oh.
And I enjoyed it. It was really good right up until the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was probably one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. Kristen Bell in the Princess Leia slave outfit is just absolutely outstanding. So yeah, just wanted to bring that up. I'm sure that's sexist.
No, you're fine. You're an adult male on a non-FCC regulated show. You can say what you want. And I would agree with you. That's a very cool, fun show. And seeing the end of that kind of makes me think of you walking into the Phantom Menace. Like when you turn to your friend and go, what if? I just think that's you right there. We do need to all watch that again and then do a follow-up and talk through that movie. So that is actually on one of my topics to do between episode 102 and episode 200. So be prepared that I might force everyone to watch Fanboys, because it's just, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to love that movie. It's great. I need to figure out a way to talk to Cal Newman, who, yes, he's on Rebel Force Radio quite a bit. I'm looking at Adam Bray right there because he's the one with all the contacts. He's got to get Cal Newman on here with us. But Adam, I know
Yeah.
we did a short show tonight, but it was important to me because of the technical difficulties on episode
Mhm.
101 with you. I wanted to have you on just to see your smiling face and to hear your interesting views on things, anything Star Wars related or other things related. Oh, somebody did ask a question. I'll ask you, in all the books
Yes.
you've written, it was Dave Jones again at the Dave
Mhm.
N. Jones. He want to know your favorite Marvel villain or your favorite Star Wars villain that you've written about.
Yeah, the Marvel villains, it's hard because there's so many of them. There's so many good ones. I really have a crush on Kate Blanchett. I love Hella, hashtag hot for Hella. Get Steve Glosson in trouble because he started that hashtag. And I don't think his wife likes it. I totally got the hots for Hella. So I'd put her down. For Star Wars, I love Darth Maul. He's become so interesting, with what Dave Filoni and Sam Witwer have done with them. So yeah, I'd say those two. There was one more question that I recall on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
That was, which director would I like to do a
forgot
Star
that one,
Wars
yes.
thing that has not done Star Wars yet? And so I would say my friend Kyle Newman, who did Fanboys.
Yes.
I would love to see him do Star Wars. And what's great about him is just his knowledge and his thoughtfulness. I don't know anyone, other than like Dave Filoni, who just has it in his head the right way to do things. So I'd like to see him, and I love it. A team effort of him and his friends. FJ DeSanto, who's
yep.
Doing been doing the Transformers stuff, the new stuff, and Sam Witwer and Dave Collins and what's his name? I'm having a brain fart. Artist in the UK. That's
Paul Bateman.
Yeah, Paul Bateman. Yeah,
Paul Bateman is
good,
great.
Yeah, good friends with Paul Bateman. So sorry for blacking
Well,
out on
you know what? There you go. I just sent a message to Paul Bateman yesterday and said, Paul, if you'd ever like to be on the show, we'd love to have you because we have Mark Newbold from England. So if you're good friends with Paul, tell him, hey, if you want to do a show with him, bring him on. Tell him we'd love to have him. So
absolutely.
I love the work he does. So that's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I want to see them do a team effort. It's about darn time. And Kyle did a voice for an unfinished episode. He was the wackiest the wackiest driver in the pod race.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what's his name? The really weird one with like these like Humpty Dumpty with the
Ben Quadraneros.
Blank.
Ben Quadraneros?
Yeah, Ben Quadraneros. Yeah,
why do I know that?
Kyle did a voice for one of those species.
Okay.
I think it's like a murder mystery or something, and I don't know, someone related to this character gets murdered or something, and the Jedis have to go, something like that. But yeah, so he's done some unproduced things. So, but yeah, get Kyle.
You got it. Well, for everybody who's listening, everybody who's watching, at Author Adam Bray, reach out to him. Adam, is there another way you'd like people to reach out to you about buying your books from you and getting things from you?
No. And social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's at Author Adam Bray. For books, you can also email me. It's adambray@worldsbydesign.com. I've got a book list at adambray.com, and you can see my email written out there at the website as well.
Awesome. Well, you are always a pleasure. You are somebody who we all enjoy following on Twitter. Your knowledge of Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff is just, you're so entertaining. And like I said, one of the most unique individuals I've ever met in my entire life. And I just can't wait for us to meet up sometime at a convention or a signing or something like that and meet face to face instead of always over the internet. So thank you again for being on. Thank you for all the co-hosts. You guys rocked tonight. You guys did great topics, great comments. Even Mass throwing out the BS hammer that he did. It was fabulous. And I knew I wanted to get him riled up once. I wanted to get him riled up one time for the show. But hey, for all you listeners, followers, viewers, thank you so much. Episode 102, Rule the Galaxy. You guys, the reason we do it is because people like you actually listen and send messages to us, and it means the world to us. We're going to get some stickers made up. I'm working on some shirts. I've got some surprises. I'm working on that. So I'll get that out there as soon as I get those done. But and we'll have some more new guests in the near future. So thank you for listening. Follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter, rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com, Rule the Galaxy on Facebook and on YouTube. And until next week, may the force be with you.